Today we will discuss on EPC contracts, and we can discuss some of the operational issues of EPC contracts. We know that contract is a sacrosanct document to be followed by both the parties, that is employer who has invited the tenders and the contractor who has got the work and who is going to execute the work. Because it has the instructions to bidders, contract conditions, scope work, BOQ, drawings, general special conditions, technical specifications, and drawings. And it also has the preference of the documents which are to be followed in case of discrepancies. And we know that EPC means engineering, procurement and construction, that is EPC, then procurement and construction. These two are always carried out by the contractor in all types of contracts, whether it is item rate tender, item rate contract or percentage rate contract or EPC. But it is the engineering which make EPC different from other type of contracts. Engineering means designs, drawings and detailings. So that is on the part of the contractor generally in EPC contract. So and we also know that when we go for the procurement, that is the contractor goes for the procurement, that is also based on designs and drawings and detailings. So that also comes from engineering. And then construction is also done as per engineering drawings and design. So that also comes from engineering. So basically engineering is the center around which everything is around engineering, that is procurement and construction. So in EPC contract, basically all these three are generally carried out by EPC contractor. Now EPC contract may have the provisions sometimes, and let me tell you, it is many times, that no variations will be permitted, no time overrun will be allowed, and this will be almost a fixed cost contract. And remember, it doesn't have item wise BOQ, so itemized bill of quantity is not available. In fact, so because we don't have the designs and drawings, so we can't prepare BOQ also, so that's why it doesn't have any BOQ. Now let us talk first about the variations or deviations. Sometimes it is called deviation, sometimes it is called variation, but both are the same. Now it may include extra or additional items. Sometimes we call it extra items or additional items, and then it may have substituted items and deviations in the quantity. And in item rate contractor or percentage rate contractor, because BOQ is there, so deviations may be there in the items. Because items are there, so we can substitute the item with some other item, so substitution is also there. Now extra additional items, because BOQ is there, items are there, so maybe that extra or additional items are there. Now EPC contract doesn't have any itemized BOQ or bill of quantity or schedule of quantity, whatever you call it. So now the question is how to find out whether any extra or additional items or substitute items or deviations will be there in EPC contract. Hence, every item beyond contract becomes almost an extra item. So if it is not available in the contract, it means it is an extra item. So whether it is, we can't have any substitution or we can't have any deviation, it will be extra item. And then basic question remains, when there is a provision that no variations will be there in the contract, then when variations or additional items are there, so will they be permitted as per contract and then paid? Because if we are permitting or paying, will it be outside the scope of the contract or no, when there is no provision of variations in EPC contract? Now, how EPC contract works? Let us see. Then the first conceptual architectural drawing or preliminary drawings are prepared by normally by the employer, and then they have few details that may be part of the EPC tender document. Then broad specifications are also included in the tender document, so that is part of the tender document. And then assuming no detailed architectural drawings are part of the contract, EPC contract, and assuming that no structural drawings are part of the contract, then it means that the contractor, EPC contractor, has to prepare detailed architectural drawings and structural drawings and all details. Now, as we have discussed that variations or deviations are part of the item rate or percentage contract, because there is a provision, there is a contract clause in that one. So it has the provision on how the rates will be derived for the variations. And then item rate and percentage rate contractor have BOQ, so which is prepared based on the drawings available earlier and specifications available for the items. Still, we know that variations or deviations occur when there is no drawing available here initially. So also in case of EPC contract, there is possibility almost 100% that some variations or deviations may occur. And then there are considerable chances of variations in EPC contracts also, and in this contract BOQ is not available, so that is the problem, and drawings are prepared later, so then only chances are there that the items can be paid based on the market rates. And then question is whether the provision of no variations would be included in EPC contract. Then what to do if no variation clause is available there? So one way is that we just keep eyes closed even if the clause is available, and carry out variations whatever required at the site, and try variations executed in some other contractor's name, that is second choice, but actually being executed by ongoing EPC contractor, so we pay in the name of some other contractor, though it is being executed by the same contractor, that is EPC contractor. Third option may be that we try variations through some other contractor. Actually the work is being executed by say some other contractor, we invite tender separately, but then we should be prepared to face problems of coordination, time extension, hindrance, etc., and that becomes very difficult, because bringing a small contractor or outside contractor into an ongoing work is very difficult job. So it is going to engineer in charge or project manager is going to face many problems. Then how to find out the rates of variation? Apart from that, variations are allowed or being carried out by EPC contractor, because there is no method which has been mentioned in, suppose, in contract conditions or contract clauses. Then one way is to accept whatever the contractor is asking for, with or without minor modifications. Just whatever he says or minor variations we may agree, but not the major. Even engineer or the project manager feels. Then the problem is that contractor may threaten not to carry out variations in case not accepting his interpretation of admissibility and rate, both. One is that suppose project manager feels that this variation is not admissible and this should be done as a part of contract and the item is included. But then the EPC contractor may take a stand that no, this is not included, I will not carry out this work, this item. So One is that in such a case, interpretation or admissibility is also questioned. And you see that there is a provision in item rate and percentage rate contractor that he cannot deny the deviations. Deviations are part of the contract. But here, if you don't have any provision of deviation or variation, then this may pose a problem. And then rates we have already discussed. Then third may be that we should get ready for disputes. Suppose the contractor is executing the item and with the dispute he has mentioned that he will raise the dispute, then we should get ready for that. Else there is a possibility that we introduce variation clause in tender document, but then how it will be introduced, that is difficult, because there is no item available in the DOQ. So this is really difficult. We will have to find out when, with what base we will have the variation clause or extra item clause or additional item. Then let us see the architectural designs or drawings. Now when we call EPC contract, then, and suppose we are not giving our own architectural designs or drawings, then we should be prepared that simple architectural design will be given by the EPC contractor because of the financial implications, and they will have minimum architectural features. The building will have minimum architectural features. Then if we talk about the structural design, then this will be having just safe structural design concept. It means everything will be designed based on minimum requirement and minimum code of requirement that will be followed. So do not try to change the loading concept considered in the design in future. Suppose you are designing a library or say some part of the building where you have not considered the loading as per the usage, then you cannot use it like that, because this will be designed only with minimum criteria. And then in case of even revisions required, suppose structural design, there is some revision required in structural design, then it goes to the contractor. You will not have to, when you will ask the contractor to revise it, then contractor may insist that no, it is okay as per the design norms, and then he will come again that original is okay. So that may be there. So it's quite cumbersome process. Then let us talk about the materials. All brands of materials required in a work cannot be stipulated, because there are a large number of materials which are required in a building work. So it is very difficult to stipulate all of them in tender document. Hence, be ready to accept the materials or products of the contractor's choice. Because at the most we can mention in the tender document that the materials or products will be approved by the engineering charge. But there may be some provision in the contract document that ISI marks, suppose, or approved by some other organization, or say ASTM will be, say some other provision may be there, so which may be clashing. So he will, because this all, if they have financial implication, then contractor will bring all ISI marked material, and he will say that from ISI marked materials only, engineering charge or project managers should approve the materials. So, we should be, so project managers should be ready to accept the materials or products as per the contractor's choice. So, because this is really binding somewhere to the contract. Then let us talk about time extension. Even if contractor has responsibility of engineering, procurement and construction, there are full chances that the contractor will provide you a list of hindrances due to employer or project manager and they are or hindrances which are beyond his control, and even if provision of fixed time of construction is available in the contract, then this includes non-approvals from local bodies, later approvals by the engineer, heavy rains, non-availability of materials, ban due to court, tribunals, delayed payments, etc. etc. So actually, even if fixed time contract is there, and it becomes a normal contract like and time extension is sought by the EPC contract. Then let us talk about the amount withheld for milestones. And you see, whenever we have this milestone provisions, even in other contracts like item rate tender, percentage rate tender, this provision of milestone has not really given benefits. It has not paid the purpose what for it was there. And then contractor may request sometimes or threaten to delay or suspend or stop the work due to non-release of withheld amount. He will say that I don't have the money to, because a lot of amount has been withheld by the employer or the project manager. And it is, you see, the hindrances are beyond his control, so this amount should be released. So ultimately, employer or project manager will release the amount. So this clause has lost its importance in all types of contracts. Let us talk about the drawings. The drawings may be the responsibility of contractor, EPC contractor, but remember, detailed architectural drawings will be submitted initially by the contractor, possibly without all details, and structural designs which at time will not be there because detailed architectural drawings have not been finalized, and structural designs will be prepared later and maybe during execution of work. And the engineer or employer will not go in details during conveying their approvals due to time constraint, poor understanding, or not anticipating problems, particularly in absence of all details. And related drawings of EMM service, E&M service, etc., may not be available, or may be available, they will not be referred. So, thus the engineer or employer will face problems as earlier discussed. So, that is the problem in EPC contract. Then let us talk about the design part also. Now, structural designs, E&M designs, etc., etc., will be based on minimum safety criteria. That is sure because we have already discussed. In case employer himself is a good designer, then he will make so many observations, and he may face resistance from the contractor because he will say that his design is better than the project manager himself. And if he is depending upon proof checking from outside, then he is fortunate if these are really checked. Otherwise, he will be superficially checked by the proof checker, and that is because he can't go with checking all the design as he himself is to do the designing part. So that is superficial checking is the proof checking. In fact, that becomes like that, except in few cases where they may really check it. Engineer may get drawings when work at site is ready for execution, and as such work may be carried out without checking or proof checking even, and even based on advanced copies. And this advanced copy concept sometimes is in at the site, and then the work is carried out as per advanced copies, and when revision is proposed, then the site constraints will not allow, or then what EPC contractor will do, he will do some surgery, and that work will have to be accepted because that cannot be um, dismantled because the work might have been done for advanced stage. Then let us talk about the quality. Remember, quality has nothing to do with type of contract, whether it is the item rate contract, percentage contract, or EPC contract. So quality is different and has nothing to do with type of contracts. Let us talk about the investigation reports like geotechnical investigation report, etc. Because if engineer or employer is providing such reports along with tender documents and they are binding, then it becomes difficult, because when, and suppose that there is a provision that EPC contractor will verify it, then you will find that there is a lot of difference between the report given by the engineer and the report of the contractor. So there will be disputes, and then such disputes may have large implications in the last. So hence responsibility is included in EPC contracts on the part of the contractor. But then foundation design will be just safe for the present loading, so do not expect that any additional loading can be superimposed in future. Then let us talk about the coordination. There is no difference compared to other forms of contracts in coordination. So whether it is item rate contract or percentage rate contract or EPC contract, coordination problem or easy coordination will remain same this question. Coordination may be required for civil, electrical, HVAC and horticulture, etc., which may be the components, parts of the contract. And that if that is a problem, that it will continue the problem even if EPC contract is there, because normally EPC contractor also engage different subcontractors, so this problem remains. Then let us talk about the payments. Stage payments are made in EPC contract because one never knows the relation between the actual work done and payment made. So that is estimated in tender document, and the provision is made in the tender document accordingly. In case of determination of contract, then measurement becomes difficult, and that whether the payments have been this overpayment has been done or not, then probably it may pose problems. So let us talk about the responsibilities. Engineering, procurement and construction is with contractor in EPC contracts. Difference between other contracts and EPC contracts is that responsibility of engineering is also with the contractor. But remember one thing, in case of government contract, responsibility still remains with the government engineers who approve the designs or drawings, and of construction too. So it's not that EPC contractor will be responsible. In government government organization or government contracts, responsibility will remain with the engineer even in case of EPC contracts. And then let us see what makes the difference between the other type of contracts and this EPC. This initial work of engineering, that is planning, that shifts on the contractor in case of EPC contract. And then employer doesn't need large establishment, that is he doesn't need architects or structural designers or say quantity surveyors, and if they are not there, then certainly whatever is coming from the project from the contractor, that either will go for checking outside or will not be checked. That is only the problem in such case if it doesn't have the establishment. Then but it is a fact that the employer does not need large establishment. Cost wise, it may not be economical if cost of establishment is comparable at the level of employer and the contractor. Suppose employer is able to invite the quotations for the planning work and is awarding the work at the competitive rate, then it cost wise may not be, it may be comparable. Then the question, somebody may ask the question, why we are adopting EPC contract? EPC contract has got some advantages also. And one advantage is that establishment, that is planning units, that is architectural quantity surveying engineers, are not required by the employer. So that establishment is not required. Second is that it avoids delays due to large time taken by the employer in finalizing outsourced agencies. Suppose some organization does not have architects, structural engineers, and quantity surveyors with them, then they will outsource this work to some outside architects and consultants. If in-house consultant, if an in-house establishment is not available. So in that case, when you call the bids or contracts for engaging the architects and consultants, it takes time because it will be finalized and all those negotiated rates, new press notice for minimum period will be given, etc., etc. Now EPC contractor can directly negotiate the rates and get the work done at a faster pace. So this avoids delays and time is shortened. And then another advantage is that in getting work done from outsourced agencies, EPC contractor is faster compared to bureaucratic approach of in-house officers. Suppose some organization has in-house officers, in-house architects, in-house structural designers and quantity surveyors. They may take more time because in government they may have bureaucratic approach. So compared to this, this EPC contractor is able to get the work done from his agencies, from his outsourced agencies faster than even private or public in public works organizations if they have their own in-house establishment or even from outsourced agencies. Then another advantage is that work is awarded at and started earlier compared to other modes of contract. There is item rate contract or percentage rate contract. Suppose in item rate contract the work is to be awarded at faster rate, you can't, because first all the drawings will be prepared, then after preparation of drawings they will be checked, then somebody will approve it, and then only some bill of quantities will be prepared or detailed estimate will be prepared, then only tender document will be prepared, and ultimately work will be awarded. But in this case, bill of quantities or detailed estimates, etc., they are not to be prepared. So work can be awarded earlier, and client becomes happy that the work has been awarded and started earlier compared to other modes of contract. Then another advantage is there that time of completion of work in EPC mode is likely to be lesser than other types of modes like item rate and tender or item rate contract or percentage rate contract. Because what we have discussed all advantages, they reduce the time, and then ultimately time of completion of work is less in case of EPC contracts rather than comparing if we are comparing to other modes like item rate or percentage tenders. Well, thanks for attending. I am KM Soni, ADG, CBW, retired ADG. Thanks a lot.